We're here.
We're here.
Different spot.
Different spot. Hopefully this looks okay.
And if it doesn't,
Sorry.
not sorry.
It's going to sound good though. So if you're listening to this, great.
Well, we are on a dock and it is a gorgeous day. We just went for a walk run together.
Yep.
And that's how I prefer to start my day any day, I think. Like, can every day be this kind of weather where I can still be in a sweatshirt? And we got coffee. Like, I'm living my best life today.
Yeah. For every day to be like this, I think we have to move. But we're going to make do with what we can get out of Wisconsin summer.
Yes, that's right. So this is our podcast, Enneagram Adventure. I'm not going to steal your thunder, do the whole we're certified situation.
So Tana and I are IEQ9 certified coaches with that Enneagram tool. If you're interested in an assessment through the IEQ9, you can certainly hit us up and we would be happy to help you. But this is our podcast where we talk about life, growth, development through the lens of the Enneagram. Sometimes it's more life and development. Sometimes it's more Enneagram. If you stick around for all the twists and turns, we appreciate you.
Yeah. My disclaimer is the Enneagram is a tool that goes deeper than a traditional personality assessment you may have taken or heard of before. DISC, Myers-Briggs, Working Genius, kind of all of those, where it measures your core motivation rather than just what you are doing and the behaviors that you exhibit. So,
or why you like something.
Yeah.
Working Genius and Sparketype are both sort of what your preference is versus the motivation behind your preference.
I just saw a fish jump. How cool. Okay. That's the measure. And we kind of chatted about a lot of things on our run this morning. But we talked about a post that I saw earlier in the week that is tied to apology. And it's interesting to think about through the lens of the Enneagram. And I had a situation just this week where I went to apologize for something that I probably shouldn't have apologized for. But it's interesting to think about why, me as a 2 felt the need to go do the thing because I put someone out, or I felt that I put someone out.
She didn't.
I felt the need to apologize to clear my conscience. I thought it would be a fun topic for us to talk about because I also think that as human beings and living in the Midwest, we have this tendency to over apologize for things that we really don't need to. And standing your ground and living a bit more authentically and unapologetically is something that I think we all should work towards.
I think there's a difference so speaking of the Midwest, there's sort of to your point, apologizing for putting someone out.
Yeah.
Or perceiving that you put someone out. And it's sort of in this, I'm a bother, or putting them ahead of you in some way, you're better than I am, so I shouldn't have done X, Y, Z, whatever. But I think sometimes those apologies diminish the times that you need to apologize for genuinely harming someone or genuinely messing something up.
Yeah.
Versus in your instance, it was what it was, right?
Yeah.
It was this is the situation. This is what happened. Could it have gone better? Sure. But it didn't. And here we are today. And nobody was actually harmed in the making of this movie. So let's just move on.
Yeah. I actually walked away from that apology feeling like the other person needed to apologize to me for their reaction to my apology. But
well, that's the other thing too,
here
right?
nor there.
I mean, there is something to that, right? There is the part of can you accept an apology?
Yeah.
Because some people have trouble even accepting the apology. Right. And then there's the kind of thing where someone apologizes and we're like, oh, it's okay, when actually it wasn't okay.
Well, and I think about the forgiveness piece of the apology, though, and what's more important? Is it more important for the other person to forgive you or for you to forgive yourself?
Right.
That's the question I need to ask myself, which is why I'm stating it out loud. Like, that's the thing that, and many numbers come to mind if you think through that lens of an apology. Are you going to forgive yourself if the other person doesn't forgive you? And if the answer to that is no, then there's some more work to be had. So I'm going to find the post because I want to just kind of like
Talk through.
talk through what it says and take a look at just kind of the notion behind each of these and why it kind of stuck out.
I think we could maybe talk about each of these different styles of apology and what numbers might naturally tend towards that.
Yes.
But before we do that, I want everybody to know, like, if you are whatever number we say and you're like, actually, I resonate more with a different one, like, that would make sense because your childhood, upbringing, exposure to difficult things as a kid, trauma, etc., could impact this regardless of your number.
Yeah, actually the post starts, it's Joe Hudson, and the post starts with him saying, I believe you can hear someone's childhood in the way that they apologize. It can show up in many different ways. It usually tells you how you were taught to hold shame as a kid. So some people will tend to over apologize. They'll say sorry 10 different times for the same one mistake. And that's a sign of their childhood where, a single accident could lead to a huge outburst where they're like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The volume of apology. Others will apologize way before they've done anything wrong. So it's the sorry to bother you. They were taught at a young age to feel guilty for taking up space. And then there's people who struggle to apologize at all or say, sorry you feel that way, like really passive aggressively. Like it's I'm sorry your feelings are hurt. Not that
Yeah.
I'm sorry I hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Which is a sign they were they were forced to apologize and learn to associate it with blame. So he says that's how many people learned apologies. I'm sorry, it was my fault. We think it decides who is right and who's wrong. But there's a way to apologize that isn't about blame or rightness at all. It's about your own identity. I'm sorry, that's not how I want to be, is how he talks about it. So he says, so the next time you apologize, you can try this. Practice it as the art of owning who you want to be.
Yeah. Well, that comes back to the ownership piece too, right? Which separates it from blame, but also, yeah, there's something there to talk about too. But I think if we put it through the lens of the Enneagram in those three, it's hard to say because I think everyone can have a version of all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the context of them, I think for me personally, it was mostly the second one, right, which is the I'm sorry to bother you, which I still to this day will do. Even if it's jokingly, right? Like I'll be like, oh, you're going to be sick of me by the time we get through XYZ. It's that same idea. So I think that's the one that stands out to me. I wouldn't be surprised if 6s and 7s being in the anxiety triad are similar in that, like, let me preemptively apologize to sort of quell my own anxiety.
Yeah.
And then if I had to guess, similarly, the compliant triad is likely the maybe over apologizing, right? Like I don't want to disappoint you. I'm so sorry. I can think of a 2, not you, but another 2 in particular who apologizes for things that don't even make sense to apologize for.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
yes.
Before she also does the I'm sorry to bother you when like you invited her in.
Yes. There is a 2 that you and I both know. You might be talking about this too.
Yeah.
But they will also tell on themselves all the time.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different 2, but I know
Yes.
which 2 you're talking about. Yeah.
And that, even them telling on themselves is the pre-apology.
Yeah. But also when there's like nothing, there's nothing
Yeah.
there's nothing to
Yeah.
apologize for.
Yeah.
So that makes me think maybe of those compliant numbers. And then in that passive aggressive one, it could fall in the assertive type. I have heard it from 9s. I have heard it from 8s. I have likely heard it from 7s too, where it's like, I'm apologizing because I should apologize, not because I actually want to apologize or believe I've done anything wrong.
Yeah.
This is a gross generalization, though. So I go back to my prior disclaimer, which is like everybody could have a version of all three.
Yeah.
Everybody could, but I think that it might show up more just based on how those stances come out. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about my 8 husband as we were walking back to our spot here, and apology for him is very difficult. It is usually tied to some sort of loyalty or guilt, like, hey, I should have been there for you for this, or I should have helped you with XYZ. It's not the sorry, I hurt your feelings. Because if he's like really directed, he knows he hurt my feelings. It's the like, okay, and
A little bit get over yourself.
yeah, a little bit like toughen up, buttercup.
Yeah.
And I've seen that also with my 9 sister, though, where like when she's pissed off enough, she's not going to say sorry. Like, I don't owe you an apology. I'm a little jealous of that sometimes.
I think for me with apologies, and I think about it, the passive aggressive thing with 9s for sure. Sometimes it's not even like the I'm sorry I feel you, or I'm sorry you feel that way kind of apology. Sometimes it's like just the overall demeanor of like passive aggressiveness. But sometimes for me personally, and this goes back to accepting apologies, I'm not super interested in the apology itself. I'm way more interested in the behavior that follows the apology. Because sometimes apologies, depending on the person, feel like lip service to me. Like it doesn't feel like a genuine thing. Like, don't tell me you're sorry, like show me. Like change your behavior.
Yeah. Well, it has to come with the receipts, right? Of like, okay, are you actually going to alter the way that you're doing this or saying this, or are you going to consider something new next time?
Yeah.
Prove it. It's the fool me once.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I get that too. It is not. Also, one thing to note here, like as a 2, when other people apologize to me, sometimes I get very uncomfortable.
What is it that makes you?
It's like I am very quick to forgive people. I can see, the wounded version of them that said the thing or did the thing that they didn't mean. So it's uncomfortable for me to hear an apology towards me because I feel like that person, I can feel that person's anxiety around, like, I need to accept that I've done something wrong. So that can be very hard.
That's interesting. One of the things as you were talking through that I was thinking about too is like, and this is a little bit hypothetical, but maybe we should talk about it a little bit. But if you're living a life like fully in alignment, fully authentic, the need to apologize should not happen very often. And so I also think about it in terms of if you were raised to always put yourself second, to always consider everybody else's feelings. Watch what's doing. Sorry. But to always consider everybody else's feelings, to sacrifice yourself, right? That's the placing blame part that was in the post that you read. Like, I think that impacts it, but that becomes very inauthentic.
Yeah, you're solving for a feeling that you're having.
Right. But that you probably don't even understand. Like, you don't need to apologize for existing.
Yeah. And if you think about it, just how you said it, you don't need to apologize for existing. You don't need to apologize for being who you are.
Yes.
If you're living authentically, to your point,
Right.
then there really shouldn't be a need for that, because then you're not solving.
Right. And I think about, like, if I go back, you know, in the last couple of years, and I think about relationships that have ended poorly. I say it that way because I don't have, like, a better way to say it, but,
Sure.
like, where someone has fallen out of my life and I've had feelings about that for one reason or another. In those cases, one in particular, I did nothing wrong. And had I gone, apologized, fallen all over myself to try to preserve that relationship, it would have been inauthentic. It would have actually meant me making myself smaller to make this other person more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not willing to live like that. And so in this case, if this person cannot accept my authenticity, cannot accept my directness or my asking questions about things or whatever it was that made them ultimately decide that our friendship wasn't worth keeping, like, that's not actually a me problem, right? So I think, like, it's in apologies, we also have to find, like, this right line for us. Again, understanding when we genuinely harm someone and owe someone an apology
Mm-hmm.
versus we made someone uncomfortable and they couldn't handle it.
Yes. There's a 3 that you and I know that will have, like, an outburst at times, react super emotionally, and then sometime later come back and say, "You know what? I fucked up. Sorry.
Yep.
I'm working on it," which they genuinely are working on it. Like,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
they are self-aware enough to know that when they can't help themselves, it comes out, and it comes out, like, in a not wonderful way.
Yeah.
And they read that pretty well and pretty instantly. In the moment, they don't give a shit.
No.
But, like, later on, they'll find it. And I think that's worth calling out in all of this too, is it's if it's authentic for you in that moment to have that reaction, okay, recognize the residual things that are left behind as a result of that. If you want those relationships to still maintain in a certain way, you might owe an apology.
Yeah.
So, to the point of it, like, who's right and who's wrong?
In that particular instance, I don't think it's about right and wrong. And what I will say, while I appreciate that 3 always comes back and is like,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have had XYZ
Yeah.
outburst, I still own my reaction to the outburst.
Yeah.
So whatever feeling I got in the moment is what
Yeah.
my responsibility is. And so actually he doesn't really owe me an apology when
Mhm.
that happens, because sure, could you say it's inappropriate? Could you say sure?
Depending on the
Depending,
setting, and
yeah,
a
whatever.
lot of the variables matter too.
But ultimately I walk away from those things sometimes actually upset, but also one of my takeaways is always like, okay, what about this outburst bothered me so much? What
Yeah.
is that triggering in me? And often those sorts of things trigger an abandonment wound in me. And, like, that's something for me to reconcile, because actually whatever his big moment was had nothing to do with me.
Yep. Yep. Yes. If we think about an apology being an admission of I was wrong, that's interesting to think about through the lens of the Enneagram too, because I could see a 1 having a really hard time with that. I could see an 8 having a really hard time with that, a 9 having a hard time with that, 6
6 would have a heart, yeah.
having a really hard time with that. So that's interesting too, because an assumption of you being wrong gives up a bit of power.
I think I do want to talk about one though for a second, because I think ones, some of them could struggle with it from the I know I'm right because I see things as perfect, but they could also be extremely apologetic because the need to apologize could trigger in them the not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not perfect enough. I'm not whatever, right? So it could also very much trigger the wound that drives the perfectionism.
It's interesting to think about because I think we've all been there where we have really had to, where there's been a time in your life where you have had to go offer up an apology that maybe you weren't ready to offer up because you really did feel that you were in the right.
Mm-hmm.
That when you said it, it tasted like vinegar coming
Yeah.
out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about that because in that state, you shouldn't be apologizing. If you don't actually mean it,
Then you shouldn't be saying it.
you shouldn't say it.
Because long term, it'll damage the relationship more.
Well, and to your point, the behavior won't change.
Right.
Because,
You don't believe it.
yeah, you don't really believe it. So the work that needs to be done before you do that, though, is why am I apologizing? Is it forced? Is it authentic? Is it because there's a power dynamic here? Is it because, I mean, sometimes, quite candidly, in an unhealthy space, I will apologize just to be done with the argument.
Yeah. I just want this to be over.
I just want this shit to be over. I'm sorry, my bad. I will do it different next time. Move on.
Yeah.
Which is not good either.
I think you also have to think about the person who is asking for, well, in an argument situation, that's different. Like, if you're being like yelled at, let's say, by someone and told like you did all these things wrong, and you're like, I didn't actually do those things wrong. That wasn't actually my fault, and you apologize just to end the argument. Again, there won't be changed behavior, but it could be because you didn't actually do the blame that's being placed on you isn't yours. I think that, like, to end something, right, that's not the best either, but I understand why that happens because sometimes, like, you just need to create some space, and that's the fastest way to get there, and it makes the other person feel like they won. But I think that is also comes back to what was in that post, right? If this isn't about who wins and loses. If you're in a situation like that where someone apologizes and you're like, okay, I won, like, you better look at your ego then. Because, like, that's not a healthy way to receive an apology.
Oh, but I've been there.
Oh, for sure.
Like where that receiving the apology has felt really nice.
Yeah. I think everybody has that at some stage, right? In a relationship where you're like, yeah, I needed to win this, and you apologizing means I got to win it. But that's part of like maturing in a relationship is like not needing to win that. And there
Yeah.
might be certain numbers, like when we think about the Enneagram, who that winning is more important than others.
Threes.
3s, 8s.
Talking to you.
Yeah. 1s.
Yeah, that strong need to be right might really make some of these apology conflict scenarios a little messy
Right.
and not real.
Yeah.
Because if it's all about the win, the question I would have is why do you want to win it? I've been in that scenario with my husband before where it's more about being like winning the argument, and that's more when my competency space will kick in of like, I'm going to come with the facts because I'm going to win this. And it's more about, usually those are moments where I've been struggling with not feeling seen.
Yeah.
So the need to win is a little bit of like, I've been maybe sacrificing too much, and that's where that martyr too comes out.
I think in relationships like marriages and maybe in parent-child relationships, there is a different thing. In the podcast we talked about last week, one of the speakers on there talks about that, right? Like how he holds space for people. He can hear them out. He can see their side. That's a big part of the work that he does. But with his wife, he can't because of what he brings to that relationship. And I think that can be true for me in my relationship with Aaron, of like the things that I can do in other relationships. It's harder there because of what gets brought to that relationship.
100%. 100%. I just had a thought about that and it escaped me. I'll come back to it. But the dynamic of the relationship definitely matters. I experienced it. Oh, here's a good one. Last weekend, my sister and I had a miscommunication for a party that I was hosting. I believed that she was reaching out to this person to invite them. She thought I was. And we found out in like the 11th hour. And I felt awful. And it was directly, this person is closer with my brother-in-law and my sister. I am close with them. It's just they are closer. So I was so concerned that my brother-in-law was going to be mad at me that I texted him immediately and I was like, I am so sorry. I should have had better communication here. I feel terrible. And he's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And I was like, no, it's not. And I just kept punishing myself.
Yeah.
It was an apology that came with punishment for myself. And the feeling of that was so icky because like I just felt like I hurt someone's feelings without any intent. Just it totally escaped me.
Yeah. I think there's, in those moments, right, it's about like having grace for people too, because did this person end up coming?
Yes.
Did they have like any bad feelings?
No, they
Yeah.
literally walked up to me and were joking. They're like, we thought we did something wrong. And I was like, no, you did nothing wrong. I am an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
chaos. But the other thing I had this whole conversation with myself in my head of like, I had to remember so much. Like, my husband was doing other things. So I was in charge of like getting all the shit for this party, getting the house ready for this party. It was carnival weekend. The kids were insane. There was baseball. There was all these things happening. And I was like, you know what? Like, I can't remember everything.
Yeah. And I was going to say, in most cases, like people are pretty forgiving of those sort of things. If you're just like, oh my gosh, I meant to, here's the information, we still want you to show up or whatever.
Yeah, most people
are, and that goes back to the like when you're really authentic, you almost don't, there almost doesn't have to be an apology for that.
Yeah.
Like it just is what it is, and like life happens and whatever. But if people are like offended by that, then they're not probably people that you want around anyway.
Oh, right. If they can't give you the benefit of the doubt and assume positive intent that it was truly a mistake.
Right.
Like, if you're a person in my life that doesn't get, why you didn't get invited.
I wasn't invited.
Children in chaos. Children in chaos.
I'm just kidding.
But that was a true moment where I had a body feeling tied to the apology.
Yeah. Well, and to your point of like, you were punishing yourself. And I think even the apology that we were discussing that you opened with, that was an apology, not necessarily for the person you were apologizing to, but for yourself.
Yep.
And I think that's also important to think about for every number, is when you need to like apologize for something for you versus for that person. Because there's a lot of times, sometimes You know, to your point of like when you hear an apology, you feel uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes to me, I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice the thing that you said, like that you're
Yep.
apologizing for. Like that wasn't even like, didn't even register in my brain as something that would need an apology.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to get better about the apology for me, meaning when I receive one. That's got to get better.
Yeah.
But the other thing to consider about it being for you is with me being a 2 and me prioritizing relationships, an apology can also be manipulative,
Hmm.
where I am trying to get back in your good graces, therefore I will apologize.
Yeah, but what if you were never out?
Well, and it's like it's self-abandonment is what it is.
Yeah.
It's I'm abandoning myself to preserve the relationship.
Yeah.
It's not authentic. It's manipulation.
Right.
There are very few times where I have demanded an apology, but those few times are like core memories for me.
What were they? Is there like context to what makes you feel like you need the apology now?
There definitely one was with parent relationships, and it wasn't even necessarily an apology that I was demanding. I was demanding a change in behavior. And that was when I felt like my most authentic self because I was like, I know I am right. I know that me demanding this is going to be what I need. And it was an immediate change. So that's interesting to think about too, versus the manipulation feeling that I have when I'm needing an apology, maybe, or if I'm giving one or receiving one. Like there's 3 very different body feelings associated with that.
I think, yeah, demanding a change in behavior, that doesn't usually go very well for me. Just in terms of like, I'll be like, I need this to change. And then like the actual thing of it changing doesn't often, right? Like you need somebody who wants to change. And I don't
Mhm.
know that like that takes a really self-aware person too. That can be really hard for people.
Oh my God, I did it. I did it with my husband this week where he cannot get out of bed in the morning. Like it is a thing. He cannot get out of bed. And it's like first week of summer school. There's like the most random shit that needs to be put in the backpack ahead of time. We had track this week, we had baseball, and now with this new summer schedule, and we have a puppy that I'm trying to make sure it doesn't poop in the house. And this man came down at like they need to leave by 7:15 to get to daycare so my oldest can get the bus to summer school. This man comes downstairs and I looked at him and I was like, I need you to get your ass out of bed in the morning. I can't hawk the dog to make sure he's not going to poop or pee in this house while we're potty training, get all the backpacks ready, get the children fed, get myself ready, all before a reasonable time. That's not happening anymore. And he's like, okay, yeah, my bad. I slept in. I will wake up earlier. I'm like, thank you. Shit. Why it takes me as long as it does for me to get to that point is a whole other topic.
Yes. For me in those type of situations where it's like, I need this from you, I think it's more of the repeat behavior where it's like, I've told you already, like, I need you to do this thing. And then, like, you haven't done it. And here we are again, having the conversation again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I remembered my thought
Yeah.
because you said about marriages and like parent child.
Yeah.
So, parent child is super interesting now, parenting. Like, I'm sure other millennials will reconcile this. And there's so much content out there about like healing yourself while trying to like
Raise children.
yeah. But it's this concept of when I pop off and lose my patience, I end up apologizing at some point. It's sometimes not right away. It will sometimes be after one of them like holds me accountable to like, you're so mad all the time, or like say something that like really just jabs you right in the heart. But they actually teach it now. It's called like something unexpected.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, that was unexpected.
Yeah, Casey was talking about that when she
Yeah.
was on, yeah.
So I end up apologizing, and this is like a whole interesting topic I'm going to have to think through on my own, but I say, you know, I'm sorry I raised my voice. I was frustrated. Here's why. I need you to do this differently. My reaction was not appropriate, but, and it's that kind of like EQ that a lot of millennial parents are trying to teach.
Yeah.
It's like your actions impact other people.
Yeah. We've talked about this many times, but I'm so curious, like this generation of kids and how that will be in the world. I also saw this post this morning, different than the one that I showed you, but I saw this one from this woman who was talking about raising children and the reason that like there's a lot of like trauma and issues around boomer parenting that's coming out. And it was that when they were children, they were kind of the first generation that was exposed to this like idea of the nuclear family and like a single family home, and where the extended family didn't live in the household anymore. And so kids, millennials, Gen X, well, and even boomers themselves were raised in this like we hold everything inside our own family unit, which doesn't give kids like necessarily the healthy outlet to go find safety with someone else. Whereas prior to that, if you think about it, like grandparents lived in the home or aunts and uncles lived in the home. And, you know, if you like, you go back to like the pioneer-ish days, right? Like whole extended families traveled together to new places and started farmsteads together and things like that. And that doesn't exist or has not existed since that sort of nuclear family thing in the 1950s.
It's very interesting to think about because that exposure to other people and the level of isolation that comes with that, partnered with now this generation of kids having this online version of interaction.
Yeah.
That you lose a whole 50% of the interaction just through text or through like this very like not super personal way of getting to know people. And so that's the new thing. Like your schools now are like banning cell phones again. They banned cell phones when I was in school. And you just see like all of these little things that are going to impact how they perceive relationships with other people and how they read other people to the point of an apology. Like,
yeah, to even know what to apologize for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all of that I think is interesting, in this need for community. And I think there's danger. We don't talk about it. We haven't talked about it, and it might be worth like a whole podcast episode. And I think that's part of why like we're always like, hey, engage with us, talk with us. It's why we're talking about like, how do we do retreats? How do we do things? Because I think then there is a need for a broader community that lives outside of an online space. I think podcasts are great because at least you're like listening and hearing like voice and feeling and emotion through things like that versus just like reading a post. But I do think like we are losing these senses of community, and that is causing it's causing like a different issue in society, right? Like depression is up, and people are looking at things differently and feel like they have to do it on their own, feel like they can't depend on someone.
Well, to that point of community and online, I mean, we saw the social experiment that created with when COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
When we lost in-person interaction. And, you know, I like, there's a reason I think why where my kid goes to occupational therapy and speech has a wait list of a year, like we lost this ability to have human connection, and the level of data that comes through those interactions is so important, particularly when there's a need for an apology, right? Like you could totally miscalculate a situation depending upon the data that you're getting from the conversation,
Yeah.
where you might owe an apology, or people would be like, whoa, this is not what happened.
Right.
So that's interesting to think about too.
I do think it would take like all of our listeners sort of their individual reflection to understand like how apologies show up for them and when they've owed one versus when they haven't, how they receive apology, whether or not they see that as an important thing in relationship, right? Like I think there's a lot of like calculations that everybody has to do individually. This episode hasn't necessarily been super focused on type, but I do just want to put that out. If you're listening, like maybe there is like some things that you want to reflect on and understand for yourself. We would love to hear about that. Every once in a while, not every once in a while, pretty regularly, I hear from Hector in terms of kind of his reflections on things that we've talked about on the podcast. Really appreciate that, Hector. So just want to give you a shout out. We got to have him back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, so definitely, like if you have reflections on apologies, how you apologize, what shows up for you in terms of feelings and thoughts, would love to hear them.
Yeah. This was a good one.
Yeah. This worked out. This filming in person outside summer thing that we've got going 2 in a row is pretty good. Maybe we can swing some more like this. I think this is good. Hopefully it sounds okay and it's not too windy and you're not too distracted by things like the swimmers in the background. Yeah. Anything else?
Like, subscribe, share, interact, all of those things.
Yep.
It helps.
Definitely helps. Yeah. Anything in terms of Spotify and Apple, if you could leave a review, a rating, a comment, share with your friends, all super helpful.
Yep.
We're going to keep working on our ideas. I know I teased them last time, but we do have them. We're just trying to figure it out. So if you are interested in merch, in-person retreats, coaching, receiving an Enneagram assessment, hit us up.
Yeah.
We need to hear from you. We're trying to gauge like what direction we want to go in next.
And this is absolutely not a sales pitch, but more like we want to understand
like what people want.
Yeah.
What, and in that spirit of like building community, like what would help you help us help you?
Yeah.
Is that how I want to say? I don't know. You know what I mean? We're not necessarily here to sell anything. I mean, long term, we would both like to leave our corporate position and do Enneagram full time. But in the meantime, please let us know what would be important to you. And if you have any questions or topics or anything like that. Okay,
awesome.
cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.